I recently read a very interesting English short story called A Sound of Thunder by Ray Bradbury. Spoiler alert, it's got time machines and dinosaurs. But not just that, it's a very interesting story. And I discussed it with a couple of friends. We had a very interesting conversation about it. And of course, I invite you to watch that discussion. But before you do, I want to challenge you to read the story. It's very easy to find for free online. Read the story and then watch the conversation. Now you might be thinking, English isn't my first language, that's very hard. Well, it's pretty short, and I think you should challenge yourself. I was talking with a couple of friends, Pablo and Mary, and neither of them are native English speakers. Not only did they read the story, but also we had a really interesting conversation. So, I challenge you to read it. Push yourself. Write down any questions that you have. Put those in the comments. Any thoughts that come up as you read. Perhaps words you're not sure about. So read the story and then come back and watch the discussion. So here's my conversation with Pablo and Mary. I could maybe give a basic synopsis. Maybe that would make sense at the start. And then we can kind of get into it and you can share your general thoughts. Mm-hmm. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's about basically a guy who is a big game hunter, and it's the year 2055, and he's getting ready to get into a time machine to hunt big game 60 million years ago. He wants to hunt a T-Rex. And he mentions before he gets in the time machine the results of an election that he's happy about. His name is Eccles. Mm-hmm. He goes back in time, and as they're traveling back in time, they're talking about all the precautions. They have a special path that they have to walk on that won't interfere, suits, all of that stuff. And then they get out. They talk about the consequences of what if they step on grass, or what if they do something wrong to interfere with the past. And then we don't have to talk about the ending now. Maybe we can get to that. But he basically has a panic attack and wants to go back into the time machine. They end up shooting a T-Rex. They've chosen this T-Rex because it's going to die anyway. They know it's about to die anyway. They end up shooting it, and then they make him go out because he accidentally goes off of the path because of his panic attack. He has to go back to the T-Rex and pull the bullets out. They get back in the time machine, and then they go back. And we can talk about what happens. But is that an okay summary? Did I miss anything there besides the
Perfect.
ending? Okay.
That was, perfect. Yes.
Yeah. They kind of go fast past some of the details. It'd be nice to actually have a longer story, I felt, for some more. I thought it'd be nice to have more detail for his panic and why he's experiencing that panic. But do you guys have any big thoughts on the story itself? What you thought about the story without getting into too much detail yet? Because we'll talk about that. Or any notes you want to share?
I kind of came across with the concept of, maybe it's not concept, it's kind of a theory about butterfly effect.
Yeah.
That was kind of interesting for me.
You want to explain how, the butterfly effect for people who don't know?
Having the smallest insignificant effect on your past, it would definitely have a big difference. It would make a difference on the future event. That's very interesting to have, coming across with these little differences, little changes in our lives, and seeing the effect the massive effect, the altering effect in the future of our lives. That's really just it's micro, it's a micro effect, and it could change everything basically. So I don't know.
Does that make you think about your own life and little things that you have done or could do that could have an impact? Because obviously we don't have real-time machines, but there's at least it made me think about what tiny things could I be doing right now that would have a big impact on the future,
It freezes, I'm sorry about the quality.
No, it's okay. It's good.
Okay. About my life, in the past, I saw a dream. I'm gonna use a union term for this, dreaming a while, awake.
Yeah.
When I was 7 or 6 year old, I was, kind of playing with my peers, and then came back to have water from house, and I saw a picture of a woman on literally the window. It was reflecting on me, and
In the dream.
No, it was completely awake. I was awake.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't dreaming. So I saw the woman on the window and her reflection. I freaked out. I thought this isn't normal. This isn't normal at all. Why should I see a reflection of a woman on the window which doesn't exist?
Right.
So I freaked out, and
What
because
age,
it
what
doesn't
age you had?
at
What
the
age?
time.
Yes.
I was 7 maximum. I think I
And you
was
still
7.
remember it this clearly. You can still remember it
Yes,
this clearly.
I remember since I could remember my memories from 4 years
Yeah.
old, and I was 4. But this particular images that I saw, and it literally altered my view, and I couldn't tell this dream to anyone because I knew nobody would believe in me. So I kept it kind of to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I carried it along the way, and probably the weirdest thing that I've ever saw in my entire life. It was a reflection of a woman, middle-aged woman, on the window, which doesn't exist, by the way. This woman doesn't exist.
The window
she had
existed, but the woman did not.
Yes.
And that's okay. But you said it had a strong effect on you afterward.
Yes, of course.
What kind of effect? Was it mostly because you couldn't tell anybody, or was it just because of how weird it was?
It kind of made me believe in myself. Having this inward kind of believing in my own thoughts, having deep belief in my own senses. I knew I wasn't crazy, obviously. I knew nobody would believe in me, but this kind of image made me special in my own view.
That's interesting.
So
Go ahead, Pablo. Yeah.
It did have a good impact on you.
Yes.
Sounds like it.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Right.
How long did this last? Was this 10 seconds, 20 seconds?
Probably less than 60 seconds.
That's
God.
really interesting. Yeah.
But it made me quite freaked out.
Yeah, sure, especially at a young age.
Sure.
I think I know what that feels like, where you have this thing that happens and you realize very quickly, this is just for me. And it's a decision, I think, where if you were to say, I need to make other people believe that this happened, that could actually cause problems for you, because then you would have this almost like unless other people say that this happened, then I don't believe it myself. But if you go with the decision of, this is a thing that happened, it's for me, it means something to me, and that's enough, I think that's a good way of dealing with it. Last year, I saw a UFO. I'm sorry, I saw one, and that's fine. I don't need anybody to believe me. I saw it. My wife saw it. It was weird. And that's enough. And I feel, when I think about it, I don't feel bad, or I saw it. I experienced it. It was a cool thing. I like thinking about it. It makes me have faith in myself more. Like you said, Mary, I completely agree with that. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. Can I add something?
Sure.
When you said it made me, have believe in myself, I don't need any validation from external world, I'm enough. I am enough to believe in my own story.
Yeah.
And I don't need anyone to validate my, dream, which wasn't a dream. I knew literally, it wasn't a dream. It wasn't delusion at all.
Yeah.
It was, it was something, maybe manifestation of something.
Well, you mentioned Carl Jung. He would call that psychic reality, of whether or not, it's hard to say what real is outside, but internally it's real. It's psychic reality. And so that's as real as it needs to be. What were you going to say, Pablo?
I would like to quote the song of Stevie Wonder when he says, if you believe in things you don't understand and you suffer, superstition is in the way. So the problem is if you suffer because of that.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
If you don't suffer and it has a good impact on your life, I think it's fine.
Yes, it's fine.
Yeah, because you grow up in a culture, and your culture makes you think things that you realize when you maybe travel around the world or meet people from other cultures. You realize, oh, okay, well, this is just what this group of people thinks, and there are completely different, almost universes of things. One option would be that I suffer because everybody thinks different things, and that makes me angry. Or, this is what I grew up in, this is my universe. Maybe if I accept that, there are other realities out there, other cultural realities. Maybe I can kind of grab some interesting bits from there and, use them like jewelry for myself. So I think that's part of the way you process it, rather than what it is or isn't, right?
And you don't need to go so far away to find people that believe in things you don't, and
True.
you have to accept that.
Yeah. I live in a very interesting place where when you drive to a town, maybe the town is, let's say, left Biden country, but on the way to the town, you're going through Trump country. So it's Trump flags, Trump flags. Then you get into the town and it's Biden flags, Biden flags. It's pretty interesting. It's a mix.
Coming back to the story, it was very fun to me to think that those two presidents or possible presidents were the impact on the character, the main character. How was his name?
Eccles. Yeah.
He felt what we feel about Biden versus Trump, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, depending on what side you're on, yeah, you could see it that way. You can,
Yes, but it was in the 50s that Bradbury wrote it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Yes.
I believe so.
And 70 years after, we feel very similar to that.
Yeah, it feels very modern in its kind of tone.
Mm-hmm.
maybe we could get into some of the specific things. Do you think it's relevant to say what the ending is for the conversation, or do you think we should leave that for later?
Let's keep it secret. Mix it up with our own reality.
Yeah. Well, we kind of talked about the cause and effect thing. You mentioned, Mary, the tiny little things can have a huge possible impact on the future. Do you guys have any other thoughts on that part of it? They have this whole conversation before they even get out of the time machine on, if you step on one little thing or even breathe, that could cause a chain reaction that basically changes the trajectory of the world. It could cause a person in a cave to not exist, or the way that, or maybe any little thing could have a huge consequence on the future. Is there anything else, do you think, to talk about there? That's a main part of the conversation. Obviously connects to the ending of the story, but...
Mm-hmm.
I think
yes,
go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Pablo, and then, yeah.
I think that there... first, Mary? Sorry.
No, please.
Please, Pablo, go ahead, and then Mary.
Okay. I think there
all right, that's enough, Mary. No, just kidding.
A lot of hypocrisy,
yeah.
Hypocrisy in the explanation of the guide.
Yeah, the guide's name was I forget his name right now. Yeah, the guide who's explaining things basically as they're traveling back.
Yes, because I think it doesn't have a lot of sense, the explanation of what they can do and what they can't. But I think that is a good decision of the writer, of Ray Bradbury, because that is what the company is saying.
Right. Yeah. Travis is the guy's name. Travis.
Okay.
So there's Eccles, Travis, Lesperance, I think is his name, and then there's another guy, I forget his name, he's also hunting, and another hunter. I think there are totally 3 hunters, right? And then we can call the T-Rex a character, I believe, as well.
Mm-hmm.
The dinosaur's a character.
I thought when the dinosaur falls, after they shoot him, he will not fall the same way they would if the 3 came over him, right?
Good point. Yeah.
So they will be a lot of differences.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. As I was reading it, they're just saying what is influence and what isn't influence. You can't step off the path, but the tree falling is going to, he's still going to be bloody in a different way. The blood could get on the soil. There's so many little things. But what you're saying, I think, is, well, they have a profit motive to say, well, okay, this is okay. The one thing that you can do is give us a lot of money and do this one little thing. And they're bending the rules a little bit because they want a lot of money. Right?
Yes. So the incongruency of the explanation is not a Bradbury mistake. It's a mistake of the company.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I like that. What were you going to say, Mary? Before Pablo rudely interrupted you.
I think everything is kind of interconnected. Everything, literally just everything has impact.
Yeah.
And we cannot deny it. And also the sound of authority here, kind of dictating, you should do this, you shouldn't do this, maybe a little bit this way, a little bit that way, has also impact on the human behavior.
Yeah, right. So you could say we might naturally want to think about the main character as the person who may or may not be making these changes, but actually it's the company that's deciding to let people go back in time and shoot dinosaurs for money. The fact that they're allowing that to happen almost makes this, you have to think maybe every single time they let people go back, it's different. Probably, right?
Yes.
Oh, I think I might have just given something away. Oops. Well, maybe we can talk about the ethics part then. If you're making rules, I was thinking about this. Is there's ethics? Sometimes it's hard to know if ethics are these arbitrary things or how real they are, because we sometimes get into a mindset of building an ethic around something we're incentivized to do. So if I don't know, if I can make money doing something, for example, then I will build an explanation for that ethically around that thing that I want to do anyway. And that allows me to tell myself, this is okay, this is good. And then if enough people believe that, then it kind of is, unless maybe something goes very wrong and makes people realize that there's a problem, right? Like, we let people go back in time because we can charge a lot of money for that, to let them shoot dinosaurs. These are people who have been to Africa many times to shoot elephants and stuff, and now they're bored, they have tons of money, they want the next big thing, which is another thing I think we can talk about, is this need to want something more always. But we fill this need and we build a reasoning around it. I think it's just, I don't know if it's a human nature thing. I don't know if it's something we can avoid, but it doesn't seem like real ethics. It seems like what would you call it? Explaining away problems or something like that, right? It's you're avoiding something maybe real that you know deep down. Yeah.
I think some of the people that I know have these unwritten rules in their minds. You know, they're creating unwritten rules for themselves, and they are blindly following it.
Yeah.
And because, you know, people have egos, people have power, so make the other people follow you. And
so you're saying
building a cult around this power, so that make them follow your path and incentivize them, you know, making them feel good afterwards, so that they follow more.
And then people just get used to that, and then it can get normal. And if it gets normal, then that's the new normal that people accept. Yeah.
Yes.
That's an interesting point. So the unwritten rules thing goes against I think what you would call maybe a code, or a principle that you have, right? Is that what you mean by unwritten rules? Is that it's not that? A written rule would be something where you say, I always tell the truth, or I don't scam people, or, you know, those are written rules in the sense that you follow them, right? And an unwritten rule would be based on my ego. I just do whatever I can get away with.
Yes, and of course people have powers to make other people, force other people to, you know, follow these, you know, unwritten rules.
Yeah. Anything on the ethics of the time travel itself, Pablo? Did you have any thoughts on the time travel piece?
Yes, I think that there is something very interesting about the plot, that forget that the point that they are killing dinosaurs. I think it is interesting that they offer you the possibility to kill something that anyway will die some minutes after you shoot them. That is very interesting for ethics. And I think the panic attack that the
Eccles.
character has, how is
Eccles, I think is how it's said.
Eccles?
Eckels. It's a weird name. It's not a normal name at all.
Yes, I thought that he felt that he can't shoot the dinosaur because of its majesty.
Yes. Yeah, he didn't realize what it would be like.
Yes, because he didn't. I think it wasn't that he felt it was impossible to kill it because of the difficulty of
Right. Right.
Yes, you follow me.
Yeah, he said that. He said, "Oh, there's no way." Right? But yeah, you're saying there's a deeper
It's
reason.
ambiguous, right? Because you can think he thinks this is impossible to achieve, like an impossible mission. It's hard to point
But
towards
why would
the
that
eye.
cause a panic attack? Why would that cause a panic attack? Is your point, I think.
No, that I think he felt I can't do it ethically
Right. Yeah. I agree.
because it's sublime.
I agree. Yeah, here's my recreation. I'll just move this for a second. That's my... I don't know if you guys can see that. I made a dinosaur using Midjourney. Not quite as majestic. Yeah, I thought the nervous attack is weird. You wouldn't have a panic attack because something can't be done. You could just say, I don't think I can do it, and go back in. But something deeper triggered him to feel that way. Like he's doing something, he's violating something.
Mm-hmm.
Which doesn't happen when he kills an elephant, apparently. It doesn't happen when he kills like a rhino, when he goes on other safaris, but it happens this time. Yeah,
Yes,
that's interesting.
In the story, it is said that it's like a god. The dinosaur is like a god. It is on the narrator words.
Yeah,
but
it's just the description. They use the word God. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's an interesting point. Have either of you seen the TV show, the Marvel show Loki?
No.
Well, I wonder if they got their idea from this, but maybe did it a little differently, because they also they have this agency called the TVA, which is a time travel agency, and they're looking for this person who's traveling through time and murdering time police, basically. Popping into time, killing time police, and then leaving. And they can't find this person anywhere. And it turns out the reason they can't find this person is that this person is hiding in apocalyptic events where everything gets wiped out. So this person will go to maybe an hour before Pompeii and just hang out there for a while. And because there's no trace, there's no record, right? So it's kind of the same idea, except it's less, because if they could go to an event where everything would be wiped out and destroyed, then it would kind of, maybe it wouldn't matter if you did, right? But they're going to back in time, and they're kind of doing that, but also maybe having an impact because they changed something slightly. Not everything is being destroyed, right? If you go to a place where an entire planet is destroyed 20 minutes later, then it's very unlikely that the little thing you did will have an impact because the whole planet was destroyed 20 minutes later. You know, I think it's inspired by this story, I think.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I think, considering the fact that Ray Bradbury wrote this short story, you know, literally 50 years ago, I think so, at
Even more,
least,
yeah. Yeah, at least, yeah.
he would have considered the fact that human beings in the future would eliminate their own humane feelings, suppressing the human feelings in order to face these considered, how do you say this? These, events that are happening too fast, that
Yeah.
Human cannot process it, and it's better to turn off your feelings. We
Do
wouldn't
you think
want
that's
to.
what Bradbury was trying to say? It's better to turn off your feelings, or was he? Yeah. What do you think is his position on it? Because he's just, what's he trying to get across to us? Do you think?
This is kind of my question that came up. Are these events even processable for human feelings? We have emotions. We are human beings with, humane feelings. Could we process these, events that are happening too fast that, I can't even, imagine this happened to me? And
Yeah.
I feel secure, and I feel secure in my own body.
Yeah.
Do you have any point?
Well, I think he's trying to make a point about human fear. Maybe you were talking about the ego before, right? And a lot of the time our actions are driven by ego, let's say. Why would someone want to go on any safari and kill a big elephant and then take a picture of it? I mean, it's such a silly thing to do unless you're driven by your ego. That's the only reason why you would want to do that. But that's sort of like a thing that exists in you. But when you push that drive to do more and more and more too far, eventually, maybe, you're going to come up against something that thing in you, the ego, is not capable of dealing with. In which case, a new system will come up to the fore, which is fear, right? And so I think it's getting at how inside, maybe we're driven by things that we don't realize, and the ego often takes us into situations that maybe are far too big for the ego to handle, in which case, right, something like this will happen, where you're confronted with the majesty of a giant dinosaur who could potentially kill you, and fear takes over. Then there's your more basic human side is coming out, basically saying, ego, get out of the way.
Maybe
We'll get you out of
sorry,
this
interrupting
situation.
you,
Yeah, sure.
Luke. Maybe using your shadow side would be good
Yeah.
to deal with this, massive kind of incidents. Using the shadow side, for sure, will gonna, push you even go, further.
Well, yeah, I think that's I think probably what Carl Jung would say, right? He would say if you're an ego-driven person, then you don't have a relationship with your darker side, your shadow side. And so when something happens that you're not ready for, it sweeps you away. Do you guys know about the Milgram experiments? Where they put people in a lab with a button that would cause pain to someone in another room. And they would push it and they would hear someone go, ow, in the other room. And they didn't realize that they were the subject of the experiment. And the experiment was how far they would go. And they would say, I don't want to push it anymore. But then the person telling them to push the button would say, nope, you have to push it. You must push it. They would say, okay, beep. And the person would scream louder and louder in the other room. It was acting. And they just kept pushing the button because they didn't understand themselves well enough to know how to handle that kind of situation. I think that says a lot about what you're saying, Mary, which is we don't know ourselves deeply. And so when something happens out of our control, our ego doesn't have the tools to deal with it.
So there we go. The writer literally says, it was a panic attack.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I want to ask you, when the hunters are asked to if they want to have to take the picture like a trophy, do you remember that part?
Yeah. Yeah.
How did they react?
They were trying to get out of the situation, right? They were trying to just get back, right? I think.
They didn't want the picture
Yeah.
to be taken. But what if it is also like a ethic reaction?
How so?
Like you said that we do things because of our ego. You were talking about that. And what if they went too far to and they felt that accepting to be in the picture where like it will be sealed that they did that.
I see.
In the picture,
I see.
right?
I see what you're saying. Yeah. That it would be like if you did something bad and then you took a picture of yourself doing the bad thing and sent it to all of your friends or something. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so maybe that's a maybe denial. Maybe that's the denial part, denying that in themselves. If we take a picture of it, then we're embracing what just happened. But
yes,
we
because
can't go that far.
why you thought that they wanted to go away faster?
Yeah, they wanted to leave, right? They wanted to go home.
But why?
Because they messed up. Because he stepped off the path. They made a mistake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He stepped off the path, right? Because of his panic attack. He took a step. One step. He stepped off. He did the thing he wasn't supposed to do.
And then the others were very uneasy.
Everybody was, I think, ready to go back. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so, right? Is that accurate? Is that what happened?
Yes. That could be the explanation. Yes.
I think so.
I think
But my explanation is more interesting, right?
yes.
No, I like that too. Yeah.
Pablo has a good point because of the fear or the punitive sound, not sound, but the voice that Eccles have in his mind, the punitive one, related to ethics.
Yeah.
To make him go back to home, because that would the only thing that would make sense to him after doing something wrong, quote unquote, wrong, and then back to home.
Yeah, back to safety, back to mother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're little and you do something that scares you or something you feel is wrong, you want to retreat to safety as quickly as possible. It might not fix anything, but it's what you want to do. Yeah.
Back to mama.
Yeah.
Yes.
Back to mama. But mama now spelled MMAAAMMAE or something. So maybe at this point it's a good point to say what happens at the end. I want to talk a little bit about the technology part, but do either of you want to say the ending? Want to explain the ending?
I don't know how could be applied to this story. Could we consider the Freudian sublimation
Sure.
in the technology?
Yeah, yeah. Let me just quickly say what happens at the end, and then let's get into the technology piece, because I think that's an interesting part too. Yeah. So what happens is they return, and they immediately notice that while things kind of look the same, they definitely are not. They are expected back by people who do time machine safaris, but everything feels different. Signs are spelled differently. The language has changed a little bit, how things are spelled. Everything is just slightly off. And it becomes clear that it's because when he stepped off the path, he stepped on a butterfly, right? And then at the end, it kind of dawns on him that it's not just here that it's changed. It's kind of slowly unfolding that absolutely everything is different. It changed, and the existential panic that would make you feel when you realize all of the memories that I have in my entire life actually are based on something that no longer exists. So now you're in a situation like maybe you were, Mary, when you saw something that, maybe other people wouldn't accept, or I saw something that maybe other people wouldn't accept, and you have to then realize, okay, this is now, I have to figure out how to handle that. And then the other piece we realize is that the election that they mentioned at the beginning went the other way. The guy that shouldn't have won, or he was happy he didn't win, did win. And they're in that world, basically. So that's kind of and then there's a gunshot at the end. I don't know if that means that Travis is shooting himself or Travis is shooting Eccles. I don't know there. Do you guys know what happened there?
I thought that Travis shoot Eccles, but
oh, okay. I thought maybe Travis shot himself. I wasn't sure. Yeah.
I like it the way it was written by Bradbury. The part that he says it was the same man at the same table, but it wasn't the same man at the same table. Yeah. I like that the eerie feeling of
that made me
sentence.
feel very uncomfortable. Yeah. Just trying to imagine what that would feel like when you walk outside and you realize that you're now alone. You're basically an alien who has arrived on a different planet at that point. That's kind of creepy.
Maybe Eccles was in a dissociation mode.
Sounds like it, yeah.
Yes.
That's what that would be like. I guess that's what that would feel like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he felt that the air was different also.
Yeah. Slightly different.
Yes.
Just
a little bit different. Yeah, but enough to be very weird and uncomfortable. I wonder if you could adjust to that. I don't know. Okay, so let's talk about the technology part. If we have a technology, it seems like people will figure out how to use it without considering all of the consequences. We're kind of going through that right now with AI, I think. And I mean, I used AI to create the background picture with the dinosaur. I don't know if I committed an ethical crime there by doing that. Maybe. I don't care. So, you, Mary, you mentioned you think that there might be something Freudian happening there. Do you want to talk about that?
For sure.
Freudian is the adjective of Freud for people who don't know.
I think, wherever we talk about Jung, we should talk about Freud too.
Sure.
So this is no exception to the rule. And we must talk about Freudian concept within this smart piece of art, which talks about future, where Bradbury has no idea that AI is existed. AI is literally a threat to human beings. So we could extinguish, how do you say this? Extinguish?
extinguish ourselves. Yeah.
Yes, by our own hands. We
Yeah.
we can shoot literally into our own head and die.
Basically,
But
yeah, that's
yeah,
definitely possible. Yeah.
Bradbury already knew atomic bombs, right?
Right. Yep. There was that. Yeah. Because I was in the mid 40s. But Mary, how does that tie into Freud? Can you make the connection for me?
well,
You said
Freud
repression, I
was,
think is what you said, right?
yes, of course, because technology comes from the usage of technology, the evolution of this concept at all has something to do with sublimation of human being, the repression of the human drives, not the needs necessarily, but drives, and Eccles could have sublimated part of his drives into creating some imaginary world, maybe doing something extraterrestrial in there. Definitely Freud would work. I think it's necessary to consider this concept.
We,
That's
we
my humble idea.
yeah, we do it automatically, right? I don't know if either of you have ever seen, there's a great documentary that I saw some time ago, maybe last year, called The Century of the Self. I recommend checking it out. It's about Freud's, I believe, nephew, who basically invented modern advertising. The way that we advertise to people's we advertise to the things that drive people that have been sublimated. Right, because up until Freud, there was often this idea that human beings are rational creatures, and we make decisions based on the logical argument, or let me think about what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to look at the pros and cons, and I'm going to pick whichever one has more, I'm going to pick that one, and that's how I act. And there was this idea that human beings use reason when they do things, and then Freud kind of discovered, actually, no, there are these pieces, and there's a lot more under the surface that we think we are have no idea about, because all of this stuff is basically repressed. And so his nephew basically reinvented modern marketing to basically talk to all of those things that have been repressed that we actually use to make decisions, right? Those lower drives that we have. So I'm sure that he was, I mean, that's one of the things that's popping up when he has the nervous break, or the fear response, right? That's maybe one of those things that's happening. But I think the use of technology could tie in there too, of we decide we're going to use this technology to make money, but actually maybe there's something deeper going on that's driving us off a cliff, that could cause something really terrible and devastating that we don't because we don't understand all of the pieces going on that push us to do things.
Yes, for sure. We don't understand the motives sometimes.
Yeah, I would say most of the time. I certainly don't understand my motives.
And you can think of Freud theory like a technology that was used by his nephew for evil.
Yeah, I recommend watching that documentary. It's dark. It's really dark. It makes you realize, okay, this guy is just, his uncle came up with something, and he goes, ooh, and he basically just gets a big lever that he can pull any time. What do you want to sell? Cigarettes? No problem. You want to sell cosmetics? No problem. You can sell anything you want, because I know how to talk to the repressed, the unconscious. I can talk to it.
Yes.
Yeah, because old advertisements used to be, you should buy this because it has this, and this. And then he realized that's not sell stuff. You need to make people feel like they're missing out. You need to make people feel fear. You need to make people feel like if I do this, I will gain prestige. You have to speak to the other things in the unconscious. Pretty interesting. It's wild. Yeah.
Well, we don't have full access to our subconscious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Darn it. Jung would say, yes, you do. It just takes a lot of work.
Well, yes, of course. Takes a lot of mighty work.
Yep. The Red Book is his way of doing that work himself. It's crazy. It's a crazy, crazy, crazy book. I mean, crazy in a good way. It's really interesting. He's having conversations with invisible people. He had a bunch of little characters he would talk to and write dialogues with them. It's a really interesting book. Very vulnerable. Very, very interesting. Yeah. Pablo, did you have any point on the technology side using time travel for basically personal gain?
I just thought that how different would it be for the subjectivity of the characters to make an actual time travel or to go into virtual reality. I thought that at that time in the future, if they have the time travel machine, they probably also had a very very developed virtual reality.
Yeah.
And what difference would it be for them between those two options?
I think what I understand you're saying is, how do you know what the real thing is?
Yes.
Yeah. Because if you, you could go back, you could do it, the whole thing in VR. Why not? You could feel all the same things, but you still know you're in VR. So it's not real. So you know it's not real. I need to really do it. At the risk of blowing up the planet.
Exactly. That is the difference. The risk.
The risk. Yeah, that's interesting. That's a really interesting point. Okay, so we need risk in order to feel like we're alive, maybe.
Possibly.
So do you think we are too depressed to do these kind of things to get back us to the track? Modern human beings are depressed. Let's confess that. We are depressed human beings.
Do you think maybe it's because we live too much in a simulation, in the sense that often what we get angry about is something on the internet, or what we're reacting to is something on social media, and what we get offended by is something we maybe read in an article or something like that, and we're in that way kind of not really living in the world, because this we tell ourselves that this is really important and this really matters. But if you actually just walk outside, touch grass, you might realize that you put a lot of importance on that, but maybe it wasn't as important as you thought. And so maybe the depression part is coming from feeling a lot of things about a world, social media, all that stuff, that doesn't matter that much, and not putting enough importance on the real world, like the person who's sitting next to me on the sofa, or the real things going on in my life, maybe.
Who is the president?
I think at this day and age, this modern days that we are living in, everything is too accessible. Everything is just, stretch your arm and you could access to everything. You know, it's too much accessible. There is no kind of working through to achieving something that you want, that you need to. Everything is too accessible to achieve. Everything is kind of easy to access nowadays, and there is no effort anymore left to do.
So you think that okay, can you connect that to, I see your point, but connect that to why that makes us depressed or less alive? Does that make us less alive than someone living 200 years ago in a way?
Mm-hmm.
Or less
Maybe.
less human,
Yes.
maybe?
Yes, we are uh, the part of ourselves that is humane is losing touch with its own nature.
Mm.
Everything, especially with the AI, everything just, the real jobs are getting canceled.
Yeah. A lot of, yeah,
How's
that's happening.
how's that going to work out for a human being to make effort to achieve? Because AI is technically doing the thing. How am I going to work?
The promise of it is that it will create a utopia that we can all live in together, where we do not need to work or struggle and all of our needs are met. And AI and machines do everything for us. And I think what you're saying is maybe that world, even if it's real, is not a good world to live in if you want to be a person, a happy person, a satisfied person, a person who has
Yes,
meaning in their life. Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. Interesting. Pablo, did you have a point to that? I see you're doing this, which looks like maybe thinking
No,
about something when you do that.
I think that they had epic experience with the dinosaur and that all because what they did will have an impact on humanity, whole humanity, right?
Yeah.
That makes the experience epic and
Yeah. The
very
stakes are high. Yeah.
very meaningful.
Sure. Yeah.
And the VR version uh, does not have an impact.
No matter how real it is, it doesn't have an impact. Yeah. Yeah. It's like
Yes,
the people
and
who jump off of mountains with those squirrel suits, right? It's only fun if there's a 60% chance that you'll die. I felt when he goes back and he realizes, once he is back, that nothing that he ever cared about exists yet. It's, in fact, tens of millions of years distant from him. Suddenly he realizes, oh, actually, I'm actually free of all my obligations and responsibilities and pressures and concerns. And I found that to be a useful kind of way of thinking of, well, I can imagine I just landed here from 60 million years in the future, in which case, it's a healthy mindset to think the things that bother you or concern you or feel like pressure, it can be helpful once in a while to just realize that it's very, very subjective, and mentally, it's good to be able to step back and look at it as it's just a thing. It's not really important. It's only important because you've gradually realized that it, or have decided that it is. And just to step back from it once in a while and realize maybe nothing actually matters that much is healthy once in a while. I felt refreshed by that. I thought, oh yeah, maybe I just did that. Maybe I just arrived from a time machine. Have a nice chat about a book, maybe get some coffee, have a bagel, I don't know. Don't worry too much about stuff.
Good
Yes,
point.
or that feeling that we are just like cosmic dust,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yes.
that are
Yes, I
smaller
agree.
part of the universe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a nice way to just sort of not get bogged down in stress. I think Alan Watts has a quote about that. Everything that you've ever worried about has had no impact on the thing that actually happened. So it's all just cycling. It's not doing anything.
Mm.
Almost nothing that I've worried about has ever come true. In fact, I'm at the point where now when I worry about something, it gives me a feeling of reassurance. I think, oh, well, I'm worrying about it. That means it won't happen. But then I think, oh, but if I stop worrying about it, then it might happen. So then I worry about that.
I had like a trick when I thought that I will have a nightmare about something. I also thought, now that I'm thinking about this, I'm not going to have the nightmare.
Nice.
And
does that work?
worked for me.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Any other thoughts or reflections or feelings or things that we didn't talk about that either of you were thinking about as you're reading it that you want to talk about? I mean, those are all of the main points that I wanted to get to, but
I want to say that I like the style of writing of him.
yeah, good.
That's important.
It is,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
I wished for more details. I could have been a little longer, but it was good.
Yes.
The story moves very fast. It's very, very fast.
Yes, of
It's a
course.
short story.
Oh, yeah. True.
Yes. You know,
Mer-
Bradbury left the whole, the rest of the story to our imagination. I think that's the power of the plot. It's a powerful plot. We covered
that's a good point.
Freudian. We covered everything. Like, we looked at it from Jungian perspective and also Freudian perspective, which means a lot. That's
Yep.
a good analysis.
Right. A good story, even if it's short, should be able to evoke things that can get you thinking about, well, as we've talked about, ethics, Freud and Jung, psychology, fear, all of that stuff. If it can evoke that, that's the sign of a good story. I agree with that.
Yes.
Did you have any other thoughts that we didn't cover, Mary, that you wanted to bring up, mention, talk about?
I think we covered pretty much
Yeah.
everything.
I think we covered it. We covered it all. All right. Well, thanks for doing it. I think this has been really interesting.